What's up, everybody? It's Josh coming to you with another episode of the Affiliate Marketing Show. Please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest affiliate marketing news, tips, and trends. Per usual, I'm your host, Josh Sebo, one of your hosts, Josh, from OfferVault.com, the industry's largest aggregator of all things affiliate marketing. We also have two industry legends on the show with us. The one that you know and you love, your favorite, Harrison Gevirtz, as well as the other industry legend, friend of the pod, returning guest, industry legend, Anthony Sarandrea. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show. What's up, dude? I hope I got that last name correct. I tried.
Nailed it, dude. Nailed
right.
it. What's up, brother?
It's
Thanks
good
for
to
having
have
me.
you back, man. Looking forward to catching up. I looked last time we had
Thanks,
you on the
boys.
show was February of 2023, over
Wow.
2 years ago. Yeah.
Nice.
I know you got some exciting family news. Did you wanna be the one to share that?
Yeah, super excited. Got a little baby boy on the way, and
Amazing.
just yeah, dude. Thank you. Just so excited. Just in the brief couple months of even me and my wife being pregnant, just like you could already see how much even just prioritizations changed, or future thinking. First time in my life I've always thought about like my purpose or impact on the planet, but like legacy, like what values you want to push on your kids, what are your habits, things like that. So it's been a fun thought exercise even just over the last couple months, but I'm so excited.
When's the due
Amazing,
date?
dude.
October 7th.
Nice, dude.
October 7th, dude. And yeah, we're so pumped. And my wife shared it publicly too, so I will too. But and I know this is a business podcast, but we had a miscarriage on our first go around, and did not realize how unfortunately frequent that is. It's like I think it's 1 in 4 or 1 in 5
1 in 4,
pregnancies.
dude. Yeah,
And
it
it,
happens a
yeah,
lot.
and it doesn't get talked about, and you feel like super weird. God forbid that ever happens to you, and you feel on an island, and then you start talking to people, and like, no, it happened to us, and us, and us, and us, and us. So my wife's so brave, and kind of raising awareness around it too for people, and posted her experience. But dude, we got so much closer to each other, our faith, and then God works amazingly, and here we are. We're in a good spot. So yeah, dude, all good stuff.
It's good, bro.
So
Yeah, I see you smiling. I know it's good, bro.
This is a life podcast, dog. This is not a business
I love
podcast.
it.
Yeah,
We talk
dude.
about real
I
shit
love
on
it.
this show. Yeah. Well,
I love it, man.
congrats on the baby boy. That's exciting. Have you
Thank you.
felt like has it already started to change? I think you mentioned this, but has it like already started to change the
Yeah.
way you think as an entrepreneur, or like what your goals will be post October whenever the baby does come?
Yeah, I think it makes you just what's the way? Let me see how I can get into this. Think about like risk or risk tolerance. I think getting into like, okay, like I always was living for myself, and then married. I'm like, okay, I'm living for my wife, another adult. And you're like, oh shoot, you got to really care for a little child and baby on the way too. So it's just thinking through like, okay, what commitments do I want to make, whether it's friend group or business or whatever it looks like. You start I think adjusting accordingly. Or at least I am too, and maybe that's just my personality. I like to be a little bit more methodical and get ahead of things. But yeah, dude, it's been a huge whirlwind of emotions, and yeah, I think just again back to like vision, purpose, and how you can pass on the right um, lessons or morals to my soon to be born little baby boy. Will be all super exciting. So, and maybe actually reflect a lot too backwards too, like as a kid, or even as Harrison, we were joking about my dad, who you know very well before the podcast too, but just the
Our
appreciation for.
next podcast guest. Yes, yes.
Oh my
Our
God.
other
Yeah.
podcast guest named Anthony Sarandrea as well, but
You're
senior.
gonna you're gonna wonder why you're blocked from his phone. It's gonna be me. But
Apple might remove us.
that's funny. But no, just like appreciation, like now, like looking backwards and be like, holy cow, the amount of opportunity. My dad's as Harrison was retired NYPD cop. Like certainly, didn't have a high household income, and just made a tremendous sacrifice to put me and all three of my younger brothers through private education and give us a leg up. It's just like, gosh, when you really look back at it, like what a tremendous sacrifice versus trips, cars, how and just like, hey, let me reinvest back in my children when it's tight is so huge appreciation as well. So when you look backwards,
We talk
Definitely.
about We talk about work-life balance on this show all the time. I'm curious, like, is there any part of you that's like fearful of how you're going to be able to have that kind of work-life balance? Because I know you hustle a lot, right? And
Yeah.
bringing another human being into the world and being a part of its life, can take a lot of time as well. So, is there any like fear related to that on how you're going to manage it, or do you kind of already know that like you're just going to figure it out?
I think it's at all different stages of life, right? When we're a solopreneur and then we bring in our first employee, a fifth employee, and 10th employee, or wherever we are. Those, and I'm not equating the 10th employee to a child, especially it's a very naive statement, not having a child yet. There's Adam. What's up,
Slowly,
brother?
there he is.
There he is in the bathrobe, yawning, waking
Well,
up. Exactly how
someone's
I want to see
yelling
you.
upstairs. I can't figure out who.
Yo.
So we didn't tell our audience, but Adam and Harrison are in Hawaii right now, living their best life.
I love
Adam, you
it.
got to say something so the camera goes to you.
Oh, yeah. Camera, come my way. Hi.
Love it, dude. What a setup. What a setup.
Yeah. So I
Adam, you're
was
just in
sleeping until
time,
Harrison
dude.
woke me up. Yeah, it
We
was great.
just we just brought up the topic of work-life balance because Anthony's getting ready to have his first kid in October, and I asked
Oh,
if he
shit.
has if he has any fear of that changing his work-life balance, and then you hopped in, so perfect timing.
It is perfect timing.
I mean, look, work-life balance for an entrepreneur isn't real. You essentially just have to have a really good integration of your personal and professional life. Um, like Anthony's going to have a kid and he's an entrepreneur. And if something comes up in the middle of the day when he's watching the kid, he's still going to have to deal with that shit. It's not going away. And he can't pick one or the other. He has to pick the future. And so you hold the baby, you take the conference call, you do whatever's necessary. And I think that's the same thing. Like I'm here in the middle of nowhere on a deserted island, Larry Ellison's spot with Harrison. And yesterday, I had a guy hit me up from Twitter who read one of my threads and is looking for a new career. And so I called him early in the morning and did an interview. Well, I was waiting for my girl to get up to go to breakfast. And that's what it's about. It's not a balance, it's an integration, right? Like I'm not going to turn away that opportunity because I'm on vacation. um and I did some writing yesterday, I did some creative work, and it's about figuring out how to make it all work, because there's no difference between your personal and professional life as an entrepreneur. You're either all in or you're all out. And if you're all in, you just have to be careful that you don't sacrifice the rest of your life for it. And that's why I think it's more of an integration than a balance. But on that note, I love you, Anthony. I just wanted to say hi. I miss you. Congratulations on the kid. I'm going to go
Thank you,
back to my
brother.
breakfast now. Bye, guys.
See you, brother.
Jeez. Wow, what a drop in. Uh, so Anthony, before you were so rudely interrupted, I guess like would you have anything to piggyback off of what Adam said in your situation coming up? I can't remember where you left off, to be honest.
No, I think just preemptively being more selective with whether it's projects or relationships or meetings or whatever that looks like. And I was just saying, I think as you scale your business, if you don't get more selective on the things you're working on in your day to day, you work 120 hours a week till you run out of hours to work. So I imagine it'll be a similar process where something that's a new responsibility that I want to prioritize and spend more time with because it's highest value activity for myself. And I've already started doing this, reassess some of the projects I'm working on or meetings I'm taking or things I'm doing and say, okay, you know what? These are good to do, but not great to do. And I need to unwind these. And I think that's a natural progression in business or entrepreneurship or in life as well, too. In order to keep growing, it allows you to maximize your value per, unit of hour time. And I think that's all it is. It's just getting more efficient with your time. So easy for me to say, not having a kid yet, but that's what I imagine it'll look like.
Make sure you point the PP down in the diaper. Okay?
Thanks, dude. I was needed some advice like that. I'll write that one down.
That's number
Damn.
one. Um, so I know you're always doing a lot of different stuff, past, present, and future. Before we hopped on the show, you told me your main or one of your main things right now is business coaching, specifically for eight-figure faith-based entrepreneurs. To repeat using the words you told me, can you kind of, you know, break that up for us a little bit? You know, first of all, I wasn't familiar with the term faith-based entrepreneurs. So maybe,
Yeah.
you know, specifically what that means and what your business coaching style and, you know,
Yeah.
program, if you want to call it, what that looks like.
Yeah, I think for me, faith-based entrepreneurship is maybe somebody from a more aligned, maybe whether it's moral or selfless standpoint, and doesn't mean again you need to be going to Catholic church and going to church every Sunday to fit into that bucket, but someone who generally speaking has like a spiritual side to them, whether that's meditation practice, journaling, or you believe in God, karma, whatever whatever you believe in is totally cool. But I think when you have that spiritual muscle built out, whatever that looks like, I think maybe you make different decisions, you operate differently, or maybe you have different MOs for lack of better words. And I think that for myself, I've never actually done any kind of paid business coaching, and I think the reason why I said, hey, this is a great place for me to spend my time is get back to my output per unit, right? Like someone's already running an eight-figure business and we match, call it like morally on a number of different grounds. I can come in from a strategic standpoint and that operator can go run and disperse it to the organization and make tremendous impact very, very quickly. And if I can do that with several businesses and several entrepreneurs, my breadth of impact or purpose is maximized more so than running my own e-commerce business or singular e-commerce business or whatever that looks like. So essentially, I have either coaching clients and or operating partners, and it was no different than the business that I sold to. I had members on my team that essentially ran the day-to-day of the business. So I was the business owner, not the operator, which is a huge line. I could disappear for 3 weeks to Asia, and the business grew. It didn't decline. And I think that's it's a similar principle as to what I'm applying here, just on a more scalable note. At least that's what I've found thus far. So yeah, I'm very excited about the activity and what I'm working on and the people I get to serve, and in a coaching or almost like a fractional CMO board of director position.
Harrison, I want to get you in on this pod. I feel like I'm not giving you time to
It's
talk.
okay. No, so you with your coaching, I'm curious, what type of business owners or how are you finding these business owners too? How do you essentially gut check that those values are aligned and that it's going to be a fit with you?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think first off, usually just because obviously my core competency is direct consumer acquisition, right? B2C or B2B, mostly online. So generically speaking, it's companies that have a pain point with scaling or growing their online media or online spend. Again, outside of that comes hiring culture, being able to exit, being able to, be a bootstrap profitable business. All that comes with it too. But generically speaking, that's the pain point for someone I'm serving. And that can be an e-commerce business, a lead gen business, service-based business. At that level of scale, it's already eight figures in revenue. And then the alignment, just do an initial coaching call. So talk with someone for an hour, go through, hopefully add enough value to where they say, oh, this is a good guy to work with. I'm also indirectly interviewing as well too. Is this someone who I want to serve and work with and spend time with and, pour time into? And if there's a match, they say, oh, I see the value here for someone in this fractional position to talk to once a month, once a week, whatever that looks like. Awesome. Someone I want to work with. And then on the inverse, is this someone who I think's, looking to do good with the world and I would, fills up my cup and is exciting for me, builds my energy while I'm working with them versus someone who's maybe a little bit more draining or something like that. It'll probably be a pass at that point. But yeah, that's so usually just an initial call, nothing special.
Nice. Well,
I
I
was
know that
gonna
anyone that would work with you in that regard is gonna benefit I think you should call your dad and get him signed up for the program immediately. But but no, seriously. I mean, I know what you do, man, and
That's
anyone
good.
that has the privilege of working with you in that,
Oh, that's really sweet,
structure is going
brother.
to be really awesome and
Thank you.
benefit majorly.
Thanks, brother.
You mentioned,
Appreciate
you
it.
look for them to do good, fill up your cup. It kind of segues into my
Yeah.
next question. Like relationships are everything. I'm sure that's no different with
Yeah.
people you choose to coach or bring into your coaching. So like what do you look for to, gain the trust of these clients, or like what do you need to hear from them to make you say like, yeah, I want to work with these people. I want to try and make a difference together.
I think separating the two, so relationships, you saying relationships is everything. I mean, it is quite literally like I think most things are commoditized, right? Most things are the same, and people buy from people they like, or work with people they want to work with, or do special favors for people that they enjoy, spending time with. And I think people forget that in business, like how commoditized services or products are, um, and forget that's usually the differentiator in someone buying from you or somebody else or working with you. I mean, even in the affiliate space, right? Like you might have, United Healthcare that gives cap to all these people. Why you over you, especially when CPA, I know you got to worry about CPAs and all this other stuff too, and retention, and they watch all that. But at a certain point, if we're advertising on Facebook and we're using similar messaging, they're relatively similar. So why do some of my friends have, a tenth of the cap I would have, back before I sold or something like that? It was just because I really worked to nurture that relationship, right? So that's one silly example. As far as, how important in relationships I think are, you know, 70, 80%. I don't know where it is of the success in the business. And same thing goes for employees. Why did somebody not leave you? Why did they come to go? They like working for you, and vendors and contractors, all this stuff. And you got, Harrison and Adam have done lots of things to help me out because they like me, it's because we have a good relationship, and I like to think hopefully vice versa, I add value to them too because I like them.
Definitely.
Uh, um, and then as far as to answer your question, like how do you identify if someone's a similar side? I think a lot of it for me is like from an ego perspective, and I think ego can sometimes be healthy, right? It pushes you to do more and things like that. But when you think you've got all the answers all the time, and this goes for me as well too. I remember being like much younger than I am now, less than mature, and I don't think I was ever extreme on that scale. But you start making some money young, and you're like, oh, I know a lot, and it's like that I think is the Achilles heel to anyone's growth. Is the second you're like I truly believe I can learn something from anybody, and I think one of the best lessons I ever got in life was we came in, we saw this presenter speak to our small group. Horrific presenter. It was really bad. He left. We laughed. Not at him, behind his back. Gosh, what a waste of time, blah, blah, blah. And a wiser soul in the room goes, no, 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 stop, stop, stop. He goes, you already spent the time. Get the value. What did you learn? And we're like, we learned he was a bad person. No, what did you learn? And we went in there and we spent the next couple minutes and we wrote out, dude, we learned so much. And now, albeit a lot of it might have been what not to do, but we learned so much from that guy's presentation. And I was just like approaching every relationship, every person, everything like that is, I think, a really mature, abundant way to approach the world. So, sometimes you get people who maybe are up and coming and running and have all the answers, and no, I don't need a boom boom kind of thing. So, answer from the ego versus like a lifelong learner, I think is I'd say lifelong learner, giver, selfless. Those are usually the qualities I'm looking for. And then somebody who's got passion and hungry in what they're building. Like it's so awesome to see someone so on fire about their business. So on fire about their business and in the trenches, working their tail off, looking to achieve a certain outcome, whether it's an exit or a certain level of growth or market penetration. And finding someone who's got that hunger and drive is also really exciting to be around. Someone who moves fast.
Yeah, I mentioned
That makes
earlier
sense.
last time we had you on the show was February of 23. This is kind of a loaded question, but like in your eyes, what do you
Yeah.
think has changed the most within like our industry, or just your world in general from a professional point of view?
I'd say the lead gen industry, mass marketed lead gen space. I think has gotten exponentially more competitive. For better or worse. I just think it's gotten more competitive. I remember it used to be really cool to want to be a drop shipper, and then it was crypto, and then Airbnb. I mean, I've literally had the guy who installed my TV a couple days ago just have a nice convo with them. No, it was the ADT, the alarm system. The ADT guy. He's like talking to me. He doesn't know anything, who I am, what I do, anything like that. And I'm just being nice to him, shooting the shit. And he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm thinking about getting into this like lead gen thing." And I'm like, "Holy cow!" And I remember like a couple weeks earlier, some random kid at the pool, same thing, was like, "Yeah, I'm a videographer, but I want to get in this lead gen thing." And I'm like, "Okay." It's like the it's in a perfect way. I mean, I remember Harrison, Adam, and I probably were talking 7, 8 years ago, and I was like, how is this not like paper lead, paper call? How is this not like why is drop shipping exciting? It's like
Because
smaller
people think
margins.
it's easy. It was the marketing about the vertical, like the
Yeah,
YouTube video, the dude in the two-road Lambo.
yeah,
It's like, yo,
exactly.
I got this Lambo. We're selling pens on Amazon, and
Exactly, dude.
you just give me $50,000. I'm gonna put your store up. It's turnkey. You're gonna be printing money
Yes.
tomorrow, and then you're like, why did I sell two fidget spinners?
That's exactly right, dude. So that was yeah, so
And
that
and
was
and,
you
and what you just said reminded me of like over the past 2 years, 3 years, maybe longer. Like, like when people, you'd be like, it'd be like September, and I'd get a message from someone on Skype, which is about to be dead. Rest in peace to Skype.
Dude, rest in
Um,
peace to Skype. For
oh,
real.
dude, I'm so not excited for what's about to come. But yeah, essentially, and then you get this message from someone. They're like, "Hey, man, I'm a Ringba customer," and I'm like, "Oh, cool." And I asked someone, "Hey, how much did this person spend last week?" And like, "Oh, $4." I'm like, "Cool, Ringba customer, sure." They're like, "Yeah, so
yeah.
can you get me intros to all the biggest ACA or Medicare buyers for OEP or whatever?" And I'm just like, no, like it's 2 weeks before. Like it's not easy. People always want the easy way,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've seen it. They're like, give me your campaigns. How do I do as many calls as you? It's like, bro, you fucking work.
Yeah, Josh, just to answer your question, I think there's been exponentially more competition. I think with competition, there's been exponentially more higher risk tolerance coming in. So people coming in and running, highly uncompliant advertising, and I think it's tough to compete for a lot of people in the marketplace with compliant ads.
On the flip
That
side, like looking at a year or two ahead, what do you think people in the industry need to be doing now to get out in front of what's coming down the pike?
I think margins. Pretty much everyone I've talked to, margins are getting squeezed heavily for a lot of people. I think when all the quick, easy juice is drinking and slowed down, I think you'll start seeing an exit from the space. I don't mean like sales of businesses. I mean like people, maybe some of the newer, less professionalized players in the space falling off, and then I think that'll force. Um, more professionalized businesses to not have to feel like they have to be so aggressive or sacrifice much thinner margins in order to scale and exist. So I think there'll be a washing out in the space. I think there'll be a washing out. I think that's one. I think two, AI is going to heavily replace a media buyer. I think the commoditized, the junior, the middle tier media buyers will. I think that position will disappear completely. I think if you're a strategic, you're someone who understands strategy, or someone who understands relationships, so you can land big customer contracts. You understand the psychology of the consumer you're advertising to, and can help inform maybe some of the messaging or targeting based on the understanding of that person. So you're more of a senior level media buyer. I think you thrive, and in fact you get more efficient. But yeah, so those are the two changes. I see a washing out in the space, and I see AI technology replacing the junior and mid level, not just developers that we get talked about, but I think media buying becomes more and more commoditized as well too.
I think it was the CEO of Shopify I just saw said like before we hire anyone, we're gonna see if like AI can do it. Essentially
Wow.
just being like we're checking with AI before we hire anybody to do anything moving forward, which I thought was crazy.
Totally,
But also I get it.
totally. I think you have an organization worth of A players. and again, the B, C, and D players will get replaced by technology, which will be, I think, in a lot of ways exciting. I think, I think um, the focus again on what I've been preaching about for years, nothing special. It's focus on the relationship, not being a media buyer. Like it's everyone, I bet you 98% of people listening to this are so focused on learning about being a good media buyer and spend 2% of their time on being a good relationship builder. And it should be the complete flip flop. And I think that's going to continue to get magnified over the coming 2 years. So I think to answer your question, how do you get ahead of it? You focus on your on relationships, and I don't mean relationships with the grocery store clerk, although that's great too. I mean like how do how do you actually go get those contracts yourself, not just pinging Harris and things like that. Like I thought this
Go
was so
get some
awesome.
direct relationships.
Stop
Don't fucking
pinging
don't just
Harrison,
live off of
guys.
the brokers.
I
I mean,
exactly.
Adam and I do not respond well to, hey, introduce me to all the buyers now, please. I can assure you that is not the way to our
I heard a
hearts.
I heard Mark Cuban on a YouTube video the other day, and he said when he bought the Dallas Mavericks, he was already a billionaire, and they had very little season ticket holders. So he said, "Get me a list of everybody who ever owned had a season ticket holder here," and he personally called them. He said, "Hi, I'm Mark Cuban. I'm the new owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and I want to tell you what I'm doing with the company, and I want to get you back as a season ticket holder."
That's so cool.
How badass is that? A
He
billionaire
probably
who just bought a
sold
sports team.
100% of them. Almost. He was probably at least over 50%.
And that's someone who didn't lose his core value or activities, even at a success level. And I think that's the level of like people being like, "Holy cow, Mark Cuban did that." I should be doing that with my startup lead gen business as well too, whatever that looks like. So I just think how do you get ahead of it to answer your question, Josh? I think it's spending less and less time focused on the media side and spending more and more time focused on the relationship side of with your vendors, whether that's your call tracking platform, whether that's your comment moderation tool, whatever that is, like really developing a good relationship with them because they
It's
ultimately get to
everything in business, man. I mean, I've been
yeah,
working, I have relationships that started when I was literally 13, 14 years old. And,
that's
something I mentioned is just like, it doesn't matter if there's someone at an event or a trade show and they're not relevant to you now, but they're in the industry, just establish a relationship because 6 months from now, that person might take the job and be in charge of that cap that Anthony was
exactly
talking
right.
about 3 minutes ago. So like, it boils down to something as simple and non-businessy as like, don't be an asshole, but really capitalize on business relationships, treat people like humans, build friendships with people, and then it's even more fun to do business too. It's true.
Totally. And I think how you do that, Josh, is adding value, right? It's not just coming to
Yep.
take. It's not Harrison introduced me to all the people. I mean, I can imagine, and I'm not sure he would have an answer that would be different, but I can imagine if that same individual messaged Harrison and said, "Hey man, anything I can help you with? Like, what are you guys working on? Is there any way I can help you with something?" And he might say no, but tell me that doesn't stand out from everybody else going, "Hey, introduce me to all the big buyers. I'm a customer of yours." Right? Like it's a totally different frame to come from. How can I add value to Harrison's life? Um, and eventually down the line, maybe I'll get help. I love oh, what is his name? My wife loves him. Jay Shetty. That's it. Jay
Yeah,
Shetty.
dude.
Think
Think
like a
like a
Oh,
monk.
he's
monk.
great.
Yeah, dude.
Think,
Yeah, I love that book.
think like a monk. So he's got a great thing in the book where he basically says, so I guess when you're in a monastery, you're all supposed to pick up your own slack, help everybody works as a team, communal, and you can't communicate, by the way. You can't talk. So he gets, for X amount of time. So he goes to the head monk, he goes, "Hey, can I talk to you about something?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, I know we're all supposed to do this whole picking up everything thing, but I feel like I'm carrying a lot of the weight. Like I'm doing a lot of this stuff. And they're not doing anything for me." And I thought one of the best lessons was the head monk tells him, he goes, "Oh, you made a core wrongful assumption that by helping Harrison, that meant that Harrison you're just going to reciprocate back from Harrison. It could it all. He said, "I believe in karma, so I believe it all comes around. But if I help Harrison, Josh might be the one to help me in the future." If I help Adam, then Brian down the street might be the one to help me in the future. And I thought that was a great frame for adding value in life without expecting it back from that person. So genuinely approaching every conversation with some version of what do you focus on? Is there any way I can help you? Is it relationally, insight, time, introduction? How can I help you? And at least in my life, I've found it's always came back tenfold. It might not have came back tenfold from Josh, but it came back, eightfold from Harrison, twofold from the grocery store clerk who didn't charge me for blah, blah, blah. Right. And I think that's a beautiful frame to come from as far as adding value and looking to serve and eventually it coming back to you. But I think you have to get addicted to helping others achieve their goals and helping others.
I mean, we
In
live for this with the awards and stuff. Like literally seeing people
yeah.
build stuff is the highlight of Ringba. So you just hit the nail on the hammer, dude.
And you get so rewarded in every single category by doing that. It's the biggest oxymoron by not focusing on hey, I want to how can I take from Harrison? How can he make me rich? And focus on how can I make Harrison rich? You get rich in the process. It's such an oxymoron of life. I don't really know what the right term for it is, but I've always found that like when I'm genuinely focused on the right things,
You're gonna
helping
have fun too.
others, you get it back. Yeah, exactly. You're gonna enjoy it
It's more
more.
fun when
It's
you see the progress and you see the joy in someone else that you kind of help make it or bring it or just you help facilitate that joy or success. It's like it's really
totally,
special. I agree.
totally.
Anthony, I only have one more question for you before we let you get out of here. So, at this stage in life, in your personal and your professional career, like, what is your long-term vision now, right? Because I'm sure many years ago, your long-term vision was to get to where you are today. So,
Yeah.
like, how do you decide what's next when you get to where you are, having gone through a major
Yeah.
exit and just, having the freedom to focus on what you want to focus on? How do you keep yourself motivated and how do you kind of determine where you want to go when you're at this
Yeah.
part of your life?
I think this is an oh so familiar portion of my life, and I think if everybody reflects, they'll feel the same way. It's whether it's when you graduated high school, what are you gonna do with college? If you went to college, what are you gonna do for work? What your career change, right? Like there's these uncomfortable changes in our life moments, and I think you have to reinvent yourself, and you have to really do some digesting and soul searching around like what do I want? And it's so funny. We spend there's a quote that says most of us spend more time planning our next vacation than we do planning our life. So just like when you're planning your vacation, where do I want to go eat? What do I want to go see? You ask yourself these questions, you go do research, you go down it, and you get your answers, then you go have a good trip. The same thing for life, like asking yourself those same questions. So, originally for me, my motivation was to have freedom of time. I genuinely did not want big house, big car, big fancy. I just wanted to be able to work when I wanted and where I wanted. So I wanted freedom of time, which again, so many people are remote today. That probably doesn't even resonate with a lot of, younger 20-year-olds or something like that. But, going back almost 15 years ago now, that's what I wanted. So then I achieved freedom of time. Then I really wanted um, uh, uh, my friends and family to experience the same freedom of time and financial freedom. And that was my huge motivator for years, was for my family and core group of best friends to also be able to have that same experience where they could work when they wanted, where they wanted, and have a good, fruitful, from an economic standpoint as well to make money. Then it graduated towards, and it's still now portion of all of those things, by the way, still remain. But the next thing big for me was like, okay, how much, if I have a charitable donation philosophy to give X% of my income per year, I want to put underprivileged children through private education because again, too, that's important to me. It doesn't mean it needs to be important to you. That I know what change that made in my life versus going, Arizona's got one of the bottom five, I think, or bottom 10 public education systems in the country. And again, I mentioned earlier, my parents make an extreme sacrifice to put me through good education. Uh, so that's important to me. So people that otherwise don't have that ability to go to a private Catholic education. So I got to start getting really addicted to if I made this much income, this is how many children I could help send to school. That became highly addicting to me. And now again, too, now new portion of my life is I've got a son on the way, and how does that redefine, or how does that relook, or what else do I want to do? And maybe that's also led to some of the activity I'm doing now, where it's business coaching where it's more impact focused. I can still have an impact, make an income, and or ownership of a breadth of different companies that can really go make a huge change in the world. And what kind of lasting impact does that make? While also still giving me the flexibility to be able to spend time with my wife through a high risk pregnancy and help her through the journey and things like that too. So I think that that's ever evolving. I think it is important to, you said, how do you stay motivated? For me, growth and giving equals happiness. So I think any of us, if we get things become relative, right? You get a nice new pair of shoes, eventually it just feels like another pair of shoes. So I think at any level of success, income, accolades, it becomes relative. So if you're not addicted to growing and continuing to move the finish line, I love that. I love that in life, there's no finish line. The finish line continues to go to the goalpost continues to move. And that used to, at one point, that was depressing and sad for me. And then I realized, no, that's the beauty of life is the goalpost keeps moving in order to stay happy. And I think,
Stay with a challenge. It keeps you driven, right?
yeah, exactly. So yeah, growth equals happy. Making that my definition of happiness equals growing and giving for me too. So that's what keeps me motivated and to keep going and doing things. And then also just like anything, you get mentors or you get to see examples of what you do and don't want to be. And I think, seeing like for myself, being around people that have large sums of money, a lot of them gone through exits, I can see a pattern of a group of individuals that I don't want to go down that path. They're become, you sit at the table of success too long, you get fat, right? And I don't mean that just literally physically. I mean even mentally, emotionally, their purpose is gone. They're drained. They're these people that used to be on fire. They're now where everybody, including them, thought this was the finish line. When I'm worth $100 million and I sold like I'm happy, I'm going to do this. And I see them in their least happy state, worst physical state, worst emotional state. And then you see people who handle it completely different. So it's just looking at models of people that have gone to, the destination you want to go to and saying, okay, which of these, okay, this whole group of people are all at this destination. Some of them I want to be like, some I don't. What are the patterns and trends that I want to emulate and don't emulate within those group of people that have already done where I want to be? I think that can apply to, anything in life, whether it's health and fitness, working out, business, whatever that looks like. So parenting, whatever.
Sure.
So
Definitely.
I actually lied. This is my last question. When are we getting some new tones, my guy?
I sunset that about a year ago. It was such a good, we
For
talked
those of
on
you
the
that
call.
don't know, Anthony is a music producer. I think that's the best
A
way to put it.
musical genius.
He's a musical genius. Tones is his stage name.
DJ,
Well,
composer,
real question,
everything.
does it just, I know you mentioned to me, a week ago when we were chatting that, you kind of took a step back from that. Is it come down to just like not enough hours in the day kind of thing? Or
Yeah, I think just prioritization, right? Like it was really fulfilling for me at one point because I wanted to take something I didn't know how to read music. I didn't play a single instrument. And I said, what's something random that I would have fun doing that I can see how fast I can go from zero to, for me, my goal was to play a major music festival. For me, it was EDC in Vegas. How fast can I do that applying business principles in an arena I'm from ground zero for? I'll tell you what, it was one of the most spiritual, it sounds so funny to say that with, DJing, but one of the most spiritual experiences and humbling. I remember again, my first coach, I was like, yeah, I got a gig at a restaurant, like nothing, a restaurant. And he's like, oh, that's too soon. You're not going to be able to do that. And I'm like, and again, like I had achieved a certain level of maybe respect within business arena to where maybe people have belief in me or in my abilities. Where in this new arena, I was like some guy, and I really could see like what do they call it, like the crab syndrome, where a crab's trying to escape a pod and getting pulled down. Like, I really got to feel that from ground zero again too, like just like starting from and like the people around you maybe don't what are you talking about, believe all this stuff. But that was a really amazing growth experience for me, and I think I got addicted to that feeling of like,
Love that.
hey, I can do this. So that when I did hit my actual goal, which was to play at major music festival with EDC in this case, I had accomplished everything I wanted to do. I didn't want to make a career out of producing music. It was a fun hobby and a great time in my life and a stop on the journey. And I'm sure I'll have many more of those in different categories throughout my life. And I've had many of those in my life. But no, that was but that, and Josh, also, it started interfering with life, right? Like, it's funny, you go from when you're just starting, you play the early set, so you're playing at 9 and 10 p.m. And then all of a sudden, as you get better and booked further, all of a sudden your set goes from till midnight and then it goes till 2 a.m. And then
you're like, I didn't sign up for this. What the
yeah,
fuck?
exactly. And it's just, and okay, well, now you've got to go on tour. Now you got to go fly to Salt Lake City and here and
It's
here.
a lot.
And it didn't actually align with what I truly wanted. So
Yeah, but sometimes you have to do
it.
it. Sometimes you have to do it to realize that, I went through something similar with music myself.
Please.
It's like not until you really get to where you thought you wanted to be that sometimes you realize maybe it's not actually where you wanted to go.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, that was so that experience was really great for me, and everything I wanted out of it was there.
He'll come back from his sabbatical one day.
Yeah.
I believe in it. I do have to run, Anthony. I figure I'll leave everyone with a nice view before I roll.
Well, let me take us out.
Anyone, just really quick, to anyone that needs Keno training, call Anthony Sarandrea Sr. Business coaching that's faith-based, called the Junior here. He's awesome.
For myself, Josh from OfferVault, the industry legend Harrison Gevirtz, and the industry legend Anthony Sarandrea. Let's make that paper. Let's make that dough. This was the Affiliate Marketing Show. We will see you next time.